Ah! Ow! I am Kevin R. Free, and this is the Reparations Show.
Don't want no spare change or handout. I see that everywhere I go. Want you to reach right in your conscience, baby, and give me everything I'm owed. I'm talking about them reparations, reparations. Oh, honey, give me all my money. Reparations, reparations. Give me everything you owe. Reparations. Reparations for all them years of frustrations. This is the freaking Reparations Show.
Hey, that's right. It is the freaking Reparations Show. I am Kevin R. Free. I am your host this week. Thank you so much for being here. I want to start off by saying thank you for tuning in. I am really excited to be here. But I'm excited to be here because of the guests that will be on the show with us today. In transparency, I have to say to you that I wasn't supposed to be hosting the show tonight. The show was supposed to be hosted by someone else, and they couldn't do it. And so I am here. So we have been scrambling all day to figure out what the show would be. And I think what we've come up with is going to be thoughtful and fun. And the reason why I'm transparent with you about why I'm here is because when I created the Reparation Show with Erez Ziv, we did not want the show to be centered around me and my vision. We wanted the show to be centered around a different host's vision every week. This is the way we are fighting white supremacist, delusionist, capitalist, exceptionalist bullshit by making sure that we are creating community by having a different host every single week to show you what their blackness is and what they are thinking about and what kinds of artists speak to them and are adding to their world. So I wanted to be very transparent about that because this will be the second time that I've hosted the show, and I did not mean to be hosting the show 2 times in the run of this year. That said, I'm happy to be here in my pantry in front of this microphone, in front of this computer screen, in front of all of you on the internet. All right, so if you are into social media, then you knew that you know now that on Tuesday, Jamel Hill tweeted something kind of inflammatory about Black men. She said that Black men don't seem to be interested in dismantling the patriarchy. They just want a piece of it. And some people responded to her because there was a majority of Black men who voted against Donald Trump in 2016. But she said she had had some disturbing conversations with some Black men. And so what I found out when I was trying to do a little deep dive, it was only like a shallow deep dive. So a shallow dive. That she was talking about Ice Cube, saying that he took his contract for Black America to Trump, partly because Biden didn't come to him with it. So he wanted to talk to someone in power to talk about this contract for Black America, to talk about what Black America needs. And he knows because he's Ice Cube, apparently. That was sarcasm, but I don't know, whatever. And right after that, Ice Cube, I'm sorry, we're already talking about Ice Cube. After that, 50 Cent this came out and said he was voting for Trump because of Biden's tax plan. And I guess that's because he's a multimillionaire and he doesn't want to pay taxes because he fought hard to get his. So why can't other people get theirs? Which is interesting because when he was fighting to get his, he probably didn't know that he was going to end up getting his in a way that he's going to keep his. But, he could also just invest that money. Anyway, here's the thing. I do the Reparations show because I believe in community. I want community to be important to us because it's important to me. I can't expect that. I can't expect it to be important to everybody. But I wanted to have a conversation about manhood and about Black manhood and about Ice Cube and Blame Black Men and Jamel Hill and all of this. Um, but I really wanted to have a discussion about it with a cisgender heterosexual man. So I called the one cisgender heterosexual Black man that I know. Not really, I know more than one, but I called one, and he said, "Nah, brah, nah. I'm gonna hook you up with this other brah." And I was like, okay, great. And so he did. And now I want to introduce him to all of you. He is somebody that I met briefly on the phone this morning when we discovered that he is living in my hometown, which is interesting. That was I think serendipitous, and or synchronicity. I don't know. Anyway, I met him this morning on the phone, and then I met him again backstage in our virtual green room. And now I want to introduce you to him. This is the Illuminati rebel, Craig Scott. Come on out, Craig.
Hey,
What's up?
what's up, Pace?
First of all, I want you to know that even though I am gay, even though I am queer, I respect you. I know that as a straight Black man, you are oppressed. Much more oppressed than the queers.
So you started already.
Listen, you don't know me, so
No,
I feel like the best way to get to know you is by offending you right off.
Right off the break. Don't even
just right out the
don't
gate.
pass go. That's right.
It's thank you so much for doing the show. It was
Thank
last
you for
minute.
having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. The when we talked today, you said to me, "You don't want to know what I think about it before we talk?" And I said, no, I don't. I think I want to be surprised, and I just want to have a conversation with you. I mean, it was partly because I needed to line up other guests for the show.
Right. Yeah, you're too busy. But you made it sound real deep, though. You made the reason sound real deep. Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Yeah. Good. So I'm just going to ask you, what do you think about all of this that happened this week with Jamel and Ice Cube and 50 Cent?
Well, this whole subject is very, very deep. Just talking about the subject of reparations itself is there's a broad spectrum as to what people think are the best forms of reparation. And to kind of keep it as simple as possible, you've got the camp that's basically seeking a lot of purely economic forms of redress.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have the other extreme that basically are saying that without land involved in the reparation, that is not a genuine thing. And I belong to that realm or faction, if you will.
So you want money and land,
right? In other
50
words,
acres and a mule.
Exactly. In other words, if if in the time of the Civil War, the white leaders understood that there wouldn't be any real significant reparations without it being attached to land. How much more so is that a reality now? So, so basically, yeah, our thinking is that if it's just purely a financial sort of gift or what have you, that it's not real. And looking at what Cuba is proposing, he seems to be on the other end of that spectrum.
He wants money,
right?
But how does he think he's going to get money? What is his plan to get everybody money?
Well, the whole idea is to present this plan to either party, and whichever party seems to be open to pushing some sort of legislation that would require even, I guess, a fraction of what it is that he's proposing in his plan with, what is it, a contract with Black America.
Yeah, the contract.
Even if they were willing to concede to a portion of what it is that he's offering. And pretty much he's depending on the electoral system or the electoral approach for that to occur.
And my question is, why would he ever in a million years believe that Donald Trump would make good on a promise, would make good on any contract? He has
Well,
a history of reneging,
right,
right? He has a
right.
history of running
That's very
businesses into
true.
the ground. He has
Hmm.
a history of lying. I mean,
Right.
I watched the part of the debate this week, and
Couldn't stand it. I couldn't,
I,
couldn't,
I
couldn't make it through to the end.
well, actually, I came in late. I saw some people
Oh, okay,
talking about how
okay.
great Kristen Welker was, and I do love Kristen Welker, so I was like,
Hmm.
okay,
She did do a very
I'm
good job.
right. I said, okay, I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
try again. I watched the VP debate. I watched the one
Hmm.
before. I didn't watch the town halls. I was mad, and then I came back for so I watched part of the debate. And when they were talking about, this is the thing that many things struck me about it, but one of the things that
Hmm.
really struck me about Donald Trump, which was the thing that we all believed about him when he was running, was that
Hmm.
he wasn't really running because he thought he would win. He was
Hmm.
running to make his businesses work abroad. And
Right.
so he doesn't really know what
Hmm.
he's doing. Or,
Hmm.
I'm sorry, he doesn't know what his staff is doing. He doesn't
Okay.
know what all those white supremacists, all those white delusionists that worked
Hmm.
for him, he
Right.
doesn't know what they're doing. So he didn't know that the family separation thing was people taking babies from their parents. He was like,
Hmm.
oh no, the coyotes did that. But
Right. Right.
no,
Right.
no, no, no. Your people did that. And it's
Right.
in the
Well, I
law.
don't even think it's so much about whether he knew. That wasn't a major concern.
Yeah.
The whole idea of immigration and taking the hard line on immigration was to appeal to what was basically a disenfranchised segment of of the American electorate. And um, you have to understand, Ice Cube and myself and brothers of our ilk, if you will, have also been a part of that disenfranchised portion of the electorate. And what,
Yeah.
in a nutshell, are basically what you would refer to as the militant nationalists. And you have the
Yes.
white militant nationalists and you have the black militant nationalists. And if you go and look at Ice Cube's, especially his solo career, most of his work was pushing that agenda.
Yeah.
He had Dr. Khalid on his songs, made references to Louis Farrakhan, made references to various revolutionary leaders and things of this sort. So that main agenda was a militant black nationalist sort of a position or push. That segment had always existed in the left wing, if you will. The Democratic Party leadership usually just never said anything about it, just accepted our vote and kept it hush hush. Bill Clinton became the president, and he not only didn't keep quiet about it, he literally called it out. I don't know if you recall the Sister Soldier incident.
I do. I do.
Sister Soldier was a sister at the time that represented that black nationalist movement or that black nationalist faction of the left. So when he pretty much attacked her, he was sending a very clear signal that the Democratic Party was going to take a different approach with regard to that segment or that faction of the left. So from that point on, our branch, if you will, of the left got alienated, cut off, so forth and so on. So then add on to that, Clinton and Biden put together the crime bill that would then send a lot of us to jail for ridiculous amounts of time that had nothing to really do, had nothing to do with the actual crimes that we committed. So that just turned that whole segment off to the Democratic Party. So now what happens is you get Trump. Trump is talking white nationalist language, but black nationalists are hearing some things in it that they like. Because you have to understand, just from a historical standpoint, white and black nationalists agree on something, and that is that we can't really work with each other. That's just the reality of the ideology. We don't trust that as long as we are up under any kind of uh, governance or institutions that are run by whites, that we will ever get a fair shake. So then it's necessary for us to have something separate and apart for ourselves.
Oh, I was into it. Keep
Yeah.
going. Um,
So I'm just giving you a little background as
yes,
to how it is how it came to be that someone like Donald Trump would be attractive to someone like Cube,
Ice Cube.
because Cube is coming from a black nationalist vein,
Now,
and
would
Trump is coming from
from
a
the white
white
national.
nationalist vein, but the commonality is the appeal to nationalism.
So my question then, I mean, you raise a lot of points that
Mhm.
I'd like to respond to. Um, but I want to know about. Okay, so how then do you and Cube
Mhm.
view the black leaders
Hmm.
who voted for that crime bill
Right, exactly,
and locked up a
exactly,
bunch of people? Because
exactly,
it was like a unanimous decision, this bill that was passed.
exactly,
And there were
exactly.
lots of Christian leaders, black Christian
Hmm.
leaders, who
Exactly,
said, yes, this is a thing we need to
exactly,
get done.
exactly, exactly.
And you're from Baltimore.
Yep,
And
Baltimore, yeah,
so, and
Baltimore, Maryland,
I
exactly.
know that DC was one of the main places
Hmm.
where people were being locked up and where there was a quote crack epidemic
Hmm.
happening and everybody was getting locked up there
Right,
because of the bill. So
right.
I want to know where you and Cube and the other
Hmm.
black nationalists
Hmm.
stand. I mean, if
Right, right, right.
I've forgotten that you're straight now. I've forgotten that. I want to know. I want to know where you stand with those leaders.
Well, if for those not familiar with the Black nationalist movement during the late 80s and early 90s, you have to understand that those blacks that you are referring to, we would always refer to them as Negro leaders.
Uh
And
huh.
we didn't use the term as a
Uh
term of
huh.
endearment. You understand?
Uh
We
huh.
understood then that this was a segment of our own black population that was a major obstacle to a lot of our progress and moves for liberation. So we've always put them in that same category.
Yeah.
You have to understand that we view them the same way that we view the white liberals. We didn't see the white liberal as it being any better than the white conservative. Our view was that they were both committed to the concept of white supremacy. One was more surreptitious and, dare I say, insidious
Hmm.
with how they did it, vis-a-vis Clinton, Biden, so forth and so on. And so, so we were very disillusioned about that whole dichotomy about, oh well, this is the better of the two evils. We never really bought into that. So
Because evil is evil.
exactly, exactly.
And so we're running out of time, but
Mm,
I think I have two questions for you.
mm,
The first question is how much of what you believe here, I mean, this is
mm,
fascinating, and I think you have to
mm.
come back and host the show sometime in 2021 if the show lasts till 2021, if the world lasts till
Last
2021.
judge, how about that?
But how much of that is tied up in your concept of manhood?
Oh well, to deal with this issue about sexual preference or gender, with whatever you want to call it, um, no cut card. One of the aspects of black nationalism, especially during the 80s and 90s, was that there was a very anti-LGBTQ strain within it.
Hmm.
So there's no getting around that. Um, because it was militant, of course, there was the just the archetypical image that the male had to be willing to be physically aggressive, had to be willing to be physically violent, and we associate those things with a straight heterosexual male. You follow?
Yeah.
So that was the overall, just to make it to
Which
be
of
as quick
course
as
you know
possible.
is incorrect now,
Well, yeah, exactly. Because at the end of
because
the day,
I'll
because like,
kick your ass
right,
first of all.
exactly. You understand? Because at the end of the day, because this is the point that I make to a lot of the brothers that I speak to now, the disruptions that we're seeing on the streets, vis-a-vis the revolts, riots, whatever you want to call them, you are going to lie to yourself if you believe that it's only heterosexual straight brothers and sisters out there busting windows, burning stuff up, and taking it to the establishment. People of all genders and sexual preferences are out putting their lives and their liberty on the line. And that is what we have always been about.
Yeah.
So over time, some of us have evolved our understanding of that, where
Yeah.
some are still kind of caught in the old way. But I will say a lot of those of us who are still caught in that old way never really been out on the street with this thing. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you answered a great question. You answered the second question is how, my it would be the question to me is how do I square supporting a Black nationalist movement if I know they don't support me?
Right.
But the question I asked you was how is your manhood tied up in any of that?
Oh, because at the end of the day, man is a function.
Uh-huh.
You understand? The man is the individual who has the authority, the power, the resources. He's the individual who's going to make the determinations. The man could literally be a female. You understand? As long as she's fulfilling those functions.
But what if she does not want to be called a man?
Well, in other words, what I'm saying is that when you're dealing with the terminology of who's the man,
Yes.
a female could be the man. Is she calling the shots? Is she the one that's paying the bills? Is she the one that's responsible for the physical security? Then she's the man. She's playing that function.
Yeah.
So when you talk about what does it have to do with manhood, that is what being a man is about. Being the person who's in charge, the person who's responsible ultimately for the physical and economic security and well-being of the family, of the nation, of the country, so forth and so
on. Wow. My response to that is that I think because of the way I want. When I'm directing, I recognize that the buck stops with me,
right.
But I also appreciate when everyone has a point of view. I also appreciate when everyone speaks up and speaks out and says how they feel, etc., so that it doesn't feel like I am an authoritarian in any way.
But see, being a man doesn't mean you have to be abusive, being a tyrant. You follow?
Yes.
And that's what you're describing. You're describing an individual he's in authority, but he's not disrespecting the humanity and the concerns and the opinions of people over whom he may have this authority.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? So once again, that's the difference. Are you the man? Are you being oppressive? Because any true revolutionary Black nationalist is against oppressors.
Yes.
Regardless to what title or color or whatever you want to, however you want to dress it up.
Craig Scott.
Yes, sir.
You have blown my mind.
Wow.
I mean, in a good way, in a way that keeps me thinking a lot, because I think that one of the things that I think of when we use the word man, but I say this all the time.
Right.
I'm a man. I'm grown. Right. But I think because I'm queer, I think that it means something different when I say it. But when I was hearing you say the man, and using gendered language, I was thinking that it was something else. And I think that is part of my feelings of oppression by men.
Right.
By Black men who don't think that I am
a man.
Yes.
You understand?
So, yeah.
Exactly.
So when you talked about it, I was feeling triggered. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But now I'm hearing you, and I want to thank you for coming on the show. Do you have something that you want to plug? Your YouTube channel?
Oh yeah. Just I would hope people come check me out on Illuminati Rebel, Craig Scott. Talk about various subjects about illumination and progressive politics.
That's great. Craig Scott, I really am I feel so gratified that
Wow, thank you. I
I
appreciate
have
it.
to have met you and to have had this
Mhm.
conversation with you. And
Right.
please stay in the backstage and watch
Of
the rest of the
course.
show. I
Yeah, I
might
can't
keep
wait.
yeah.
Because I know you're gonna
um,
act a fool with the next guest.
how dare you? Actually, the next guest is a long video, so maybe
Oh,
you can. No,
okay.
that's when everybody takes a break. But I hope that everybody watches the video. All right,
Right.
goodbye, Craig. Stay around. I'm going
Goodbye.
to tell a
Thank you
quick
so much.
story. And great, thanks, Craig. I'm going to tell a quick story, and then we're going to go on to our next segment, which is This Week in Reparations, which is normally the segment that I host. Um, Craig was talking about things, and it was reminding me I did a play in 2016, and it was based on a novel written by a Korean American woman. It was called A Single Shard, and the play, everyone in the play was Asian except for the two blacks and the Puerto Rican that they cast. Oh, there was a white man too. And the director, Sima Sueko, who is the deputy artistic director at Arena Stage, the director in the first scene said, Kevin, when you enter here, you're going to bow. And then you say your line to him. You're bowing because he's older than you, and just to make sure you bow. So we did the first scene, we did it, and then afterwards, she was giving us notes, and she said, all right, Kevin, don't forget to bow. We're going to do that one more time, and Kevin, don't forget to bow. And I said, okay, great. So we did the scene again, and then we stopped. She said, all right, let's talk about it. It was great. All right, Kevin, don't forget to bow. And I said, okay. So we did it again, and then she stopped the scene right after I didn't bow. And what I realized, I was so happy to be doing this play. I had never been the minority in the room with other people of color. My experience of being the only in the room with a bunch of white people was new as an actor, being in a room full of people of color who were not black. And she said, "See that, Kevin, you didn't bow again." And it blew my mind because I realized it in that moment as a very sensitive queer spirit that black men don't bow. We don't bow. You don't tell me to bow. I'm not bowing. Why would I bow? I'm not bowing. And I didn't bow because I just wasn't, but I thought I was bowing. Anyway, it's really interesting the way we are socialized in this country. Okay. Next up is This Week in Reparations. I spoke to the lovely Graham Schmidt and Travis Tate. They are friends and collaborators. Travis is a playwright, and Graham is a director and dramaturg. And recently, Graham wrote an article about deciding not to be the director of Travis's latest piece, which is being produced by I Defy here in the city. When that happens, we will plug that for you. But we're gonna present this video of the interview with them. It's about 17 minutes. It's great. It's lovely. Please enjoy. Roll it. Hi, Travis and Graham. Thank you so much for coming on the Reparation Show. It's really great to see your faces. I'm so happy that you are here with me in these little boxes. So introduce yourselves and tell everybody who you are, what you do. Let's start with Graham.
Great. My name is Graham Schmidt. Thank you for having us, Kevin. This is awesome. My name is Graham Schmidt. I'm a Brooklyn-based theater director. I've lived here for about 2 years, and I also teach acting, and I'm a freelance dramaturg.
And Travis?
I'm Travis Tate. I am a playwright and a poet, and sometimes I perform things. I'm based in a liminal space right now, so that's where I'm at.
A liminal space. Does the liminal space have a name? Is it like Jewel World? Is it Tate World? What is it called?
It's my mom's house. What it's called. Yeah.
My mom's house. Well, that's a good place to be. That is a good place to be. So tell me how you know each other.
Me and Graham met in grad school in 2015. Yeah, we met in Austin, Texas at UT in grad school, and we were both living in Austin before that, but I don't think we even met before then.
We met. It was a small cohort. There were 5 people, and so it was a pretty intense experience over the course of the next 3 years.
Was it you were getting an MFA in directing or in playwriting or just in making theater?
The program is the MFA in playwriting and directing. So both disciplines study together, and so there were 2 directors and 3 playwrights our year. Usually it's either 1 director and 4 playwrights or somewhere around that.
I see. So it's sort of a program that creates collaborators.
I think so. Yeah, it's really based in grounded in new work.
So the 2 of you were part of this cohort. And did that mean then that, Travis, you were writing a lot of plays that the directors in the cohort were directing? Or did you go outside of the program for directors?
Mostly, like Graham's mentioned, it was a big program about collaboration and new work. So not all the directors were directing the playwright's work, but that's basically how it happened. Like, you'd write a play, and if you wanted a reading, you'd ask Graham or one of the other directors in your cohort or in the previous years. And yeah, so we weren't. I mean, there was lots of time and space to do things in Austin, but when you're in grad school, it's easier to ask the person next to you. So yeah, that's basically how it happened. If you wanted a play done or a little production or a reading or anything, kind of work on it, you would work with directors in the cohort or dramaturgs in the other cohorts, other people like that. Yeah.
And so my question to you now is, how often did the 2 of you work together in grad school?
Not a ton. I directed a couple of readings of Travis's, and we studied together. But we were friends outside of that. We never collaborated directly during grad school.
So, Travis, you have a play called Queen of the Night. Mm-hmm. And you and Graham have collaborated on this play off and on, or has it been continuous for a number of years?
I think probably in our last year of grad school, we started to explore working on it and talking about it, and Graham kind of directing / dramaturging it. And yeah, so it's probably been a year-ish too.
And
go ahead. I haven't been the only director who had, like, Travis had a workshop in Austin and then moved to New York in, I guess it was February.
Yes. So so I had a reading of it in December, I think, maybe, which I directed.
Oh, right. Okay.
But I did have some dramaturgical help from a great PhD friend in the UT program that helped with dramaturgy. But then I moved to New York in February, and then so me and Graham picked it up and started talking about it again.
And I would say, like, even since we graduated, Travis and I started like collaborating on, like, we've applied to some residencies together and have developed some. We had like a Seagull projects that we would meet and just generate ideas about, but have never done like a full production process together.
I see. And then someone decided to do a reading of Queen of the Night, and Graham, you were attached as director.
Yeah, I pitched it to Idify, which is
Mirrorize company.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Okay.
And and so she was really excited about it, and that was, I guess, in July. Mirai and I have become friends, and so we were just like kind of geeking out over our success, and and like kind of in passing, she opened up space for this question, which was like, do you think that you're the right director for this piece? And we had already, I had pitched it as the director for the piece, and I think there was always like a voice in the back of my head that was like, I'm very aware I'm not queer, and this is a queer story. I'm not Black, and this is a very Black story, and that's when it was just like opening space for a question, like, what makes you the perfect director? And I went away, and the next meeting that I had was with Travis and Mirai to talk about the project. And in the interim, I just thought a lot about this question.
Yeah.
That
And when did you pose the question to Travis?
it was in this meeting with Mirai and Travis that we came together.
And so, Travis, what was your response to the question when it was asked?
Yeah, so I think, yeah, since you and Mirai talked about it, Mirai posed the question as kind of an organizational question. So I was like, I don't know, I guess Graham's fine. And then the next question was, I think, more directed, which was like, do you want a Black director to direct this? And I mean, I honestly didn't know what to think. I was like, yes, of course. But the way the question was posed was kind of, I was on the spot. And so I was like, okay, like Graham's in the Zoom room, like we can mute him, but like he can still hear us. If I'm like, Graham's a bad choice, you know, like, but once I mean, in the few, I think I responded this way. I said, that idea, that's the first idea that I want. Like, that's the first thing I want, is to work with a Black director. I really want to work with a Black director. I haven't in the past had the chance to work with a Black director, not in grad school, not after grad school. So that's something that's really important to me. And I think I even said I feel like I'm being put on the spot. Like, I don't, so yeah, it was kind of an awkward, weird thing, but it worked out good.
Yeah. I want to find out how it worked out. But I also want to talk to you, Travis, about, I'm going to say this back to you. All through college and grad school, as a playwright, and now post-grad school, until now, you had never worked with a Black director on any of your plays.
Not on any of the plays I wrote. I might have worked with some Black directors as an actor. So yeah, so grad school, no Black directors. After that, you know, I was in talks with other Black artists to make work in Austin. And that was kind of one of the reasons why I was like, okay, well, I have to move to a major city like New York or LA or Chicago or something.
The question was posed. Travis says, yes, I would love to work with a Black queer director. Graham, your response to that was you flipped the table and you stormed out of the Zoom room?
No, I mean, I felt like that it was important to like be really clear that I'm not only okay with this, like I want this for Travis. My wife is a Black playwright. I know how important that can be. I know how transformative that can be. And I also know how in some ways, how hard it can, you know, people can find themselves in situations where they're in an ecosystem that just does not support or accommodate that. And
yeah. I
felt like I have been in New York for a couple of years. I know a lot of fantastic, and I just worked, I did a youth education project at the Goodman, where I was a guest director, and I was paired with Wardell Julius Clark and Ken Matt Martin, who are fantastic queer Chicago directors. I know who are Black, and I know several in the city. And I just felt like between Mirai and I, we had an opportunity to kind of leverage our networks and this felt in some ways it felt like a low stakes thing. Like, look, we don't know when this production is ever going to happen, and this could be like a really beautiful experience for Travis.
So when you stepped back, you're on the project still, correct?
Yeah, and that was part of like what I thought of in the moments, like what you dramaturg. And that way, like some of the knowledge that I had in the relationship that I built with Travis and the relationship with the play, I could still, like, that wasn't like cut off or lost.
Yeah.
And I could bring that into the process. And you know, it was on the one hand, like I felt really strongly about it. about this was a great micro reparation, gesture.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
it's and then it became kind of emotionally difficult because Ken Matt fell in love with the play and confirmed what I had believed, which is this is so cool. It's such a good script.
Yeah.
It had already attracted some interest, and then it became a bit more challenging for me because then I had all these feelings of giving up, and just to be like real, like that's not eventually where I came down, but just like I feel like just to for white people, like this is part of the experience, it's not just like completely smooth sailing it. There is a feeling of like it cost me something, but that just then I got the opportunity to reflect and write about it, and I thought about and checked in with Travis about this, about what it had cost them in grad school to have no opportunity to work with a Black director.
Yeah.
And what that said about, the kind of, I called it in this article I wrote, the overwhelming whiteness of our program. It also pointed to probably a bit of a leg up that I got just in the beginning.
So in that conversation, how was that for you, Travis? When Graham came back to you and said, I'm struggling with this emotionally, what was your response to that?
If this is an article saying, hey, here's an example, white people, of how we can make the space equitable by not just hiring a Black person on the artistic director team and being like, look, we hired Liliana.
Right.
But there's a way that you can show people that that getting to equality and creating changes within the theater industry, which is really, really horrible and racist, is by actually these little things where it's like, hey, I'm going to pass you the name of 5 directors that you've never heard of that are Black and queer. Here you go. And the meetup between me and Ken Matt Martin was stellar and amazing. And I hope that even if we don't ever work on this project, or if we do, I hope that we can work together again. Or I hope I can slide his name to somebody at UT that's in the grad program right now and say, hey, fly this person out, give them to give you money. He's amazing. Like,
yes.
This is a way that actual change can happen.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
This is also the way communities are built, is by being vulnerable with one another and being honest about where we are, Travis, I really want to know from you, what is your life like post that conversation? Meeting with a Black director, having said that out loud, all of that stuff. Like, what is your new? Is there something like? Was there a breath of fresh air? Like, what is happening with you now in your spirit?
Like, it's about having a little bit of authority to your voice and saying what you need and what you want, and then just keep saying it until somebody gives it to you. And like Mirai and I Defy are like, oh yeah, okay, great. Who do you want in the play? That makes me endlessly joyful. So
yeah, I love that for you. I love that for you. I'm just so proud of the two of you for having gone through this and for making your work relationship really even deeper. Graham, do you want to talk about those tears?
It just means a lot to me. Like, one of the things that I realized that made it really hard is that I stepped away from this collaboration, and it was then that I realized like how much it really meant to me when Travis chose me as a director, and that was just true friendship. But I feel like that connection is still there, and we can sort of reciprocate it together.
I just wanted. I think the vocabulary of step down or step back may be the wrong vocabulary, right? Like, you're saying, like, I showed you a gesture by being like, I want you to direct my play, but I think that like the gesture of love is like tenfold by you like handing over or guiding or some other than step back or step. It's a more loving gesture, I think, and I think maybe think about it out.
Oh, you guys. Okay. I'm going to end this video because I just love you both so much. And I think the best way to end this is on that gesture of love. That was lovely. Thank you so much for coming on the show to talk to me. And I can't wait to see Queen of the Night. How weren't they wonderful? Just lovely. If you gentlemen are watching, you lovely lizards are watching, thank you so much for coming on and talking to me about that, about what was a difficult situation but ended up being a really good situation for both of you. I really loved that Graham said that this is part of what it is for white people, that it feels like you're giving something up, and that there is a cost to paying reparations of some sort. Speaking of that, if you see the scrolling ticker over here talking about paying some reparations, we would love it if you would donate to the show. All of the money that comes into the show, goes to pay performers on the show. So please donate to us. My next guest, I met this person this year. I directed a bunch of plays written by young people that were commissioned by Rytopia Lab, and this person was so fearless and so fun and so smart, and I reached out and said, "Hey, do you have any videos you can send me, like, right now?" And they said, "Yeah, absolutely." So I think we're going to roll the first video of Gary Cook Jr., and then we're going to talk to him for a couple of minutes. Roll it, Morgan.
To be or not to be? Ooh, that is the question. Whether 'tis noble in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them. To die, to sleep, no more. And by asleep to say that we end the heartache and the 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. To die, to sleep. To sleep, perchance to dream. There's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have left this mortal coil must give pause. There's the respect to calamity, so long life.
Gary Cook Jr., everybody. Gary!
Hey!
That was really funny. You know, when I first watched that video, I didn't realize that you paraphrased some stuff, but I guess that's what happens when you vlog, when when Hamlet is vlogging.
Sometimes when you're just in it, you're in the cut, you
Were you in the cut or was Hamlet in the cut?
There, that's the amazing thing is sometimes there's that meeting ground where you just I don't know.
Yeah, that's beautiful and so deep. Speaking of deep, you're in school now, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
Tell us about that. You're at Cal Arts?
Yeah, so I currently this is my first year at CalArts. I just started a few months ago, where I think I'm like week 6 or week 7. And that has just been like a journey and a half, just like especially with the lockdowns and everything else going
Yeah.
on. And yeah,
Is
yeah,
it an MFA program?
it is an MFA
It's an
program.
MFA program.
Yeah.
You know who the Winans sister that's on Greenleaf graduated from CalArts, didn't she?
I just recently found out about that.
She went to school
Yeah.
with my friend Toussaint Jean-Louis, who also went to CalArts. Do you know Toussaint?
No, no.
Yeah, he's another New York person. Anyway, so you're enjoying like you told me you were Zoom University. Are you enjoying that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's for the first bit of it, it was just one of those things where it was like, it is what it is. Gonna like just do what I can, really focus on like the text, but like really getting into it. And then especially just thinking back on like that. So that video just played is a couple years old now, and really just trying to figure out like how exactly to make it work, you know, how exactly to make it sort of like, you know, where can you find the connection and the humanity in some of this stuff, and how can you make that palpable even through a screen like this.
Yeah.
You know, so
Well,
that's been a really fun challenge.
have you been? So you did that 2 years ago. So you've created a lot of content. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on your YouTube channel. Morgan will flash up the YouTube channel in a minute. But less than a minute. Work, yeah, Morgan, work. Okay. But so there's a lot of stuff on your YouTube channel already, and so you create a lot of content. What made you decide that you needed to go to grad school?
I think that for myself personally, I just am. I love education for one thing, and I love training. You know, I took an acting class last fall in New York, and it really made me think about a lot of things in a different way.
Yeah.
There's a certain element of just experimentation where I can really sort of let loose in a different mode, in a different form, where there's not that there's not something on the line, but it feels a little bit more. There's an element of play, I feel like, for myself that I've been able to find in training, and so that was important for me.
And so the element of play, I mean, that video that we just saw of Hamlet as a vlogger, there was a lot of play in that. And so I that makes sense to me that you would be searching for an opportunity that makes you feel young again, because you're a very old person.
Oh yeah,
Everyone thought I was the oldest one here, but the truth is it's you.
it's in my case.
um and is being in school bringing you joy? Do you feel joyful
I
then?
mean,
The
yeah,
play is
definitely. I think that, I mean, especially given now, like just given the circumstance of everything, I think that it's been really nice to sort of like have that structure and have that you know, this new sort of ground, this new sort of like battleground, this new grounds to play in, this new sort of like a mode to be in.
yeah. It feels like a battleground sometimes. It does feel like we're
Yeah,
fighting
yeah,
for. I mean, I forget the political aspect of
right.
where it sort of feels to me like I'm fighting for my life often, but um, I'm thinking about this world of having to be on my computer in order to experience art and artists is that feels like a battleground to me,
Mhm.
that I'm often fighting for. I mean, today just trying to upload some of these videos to the Dropbox so that we could play them on the show. And because I had so many things going, my computer was saying, I can't. And, that felt like a battleground to me. So, but you like the structure of knowing I have to be a class at this time.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
helpful. I'm a very like I'm a very sort of like nerdy person. I've always enjoyed sort of like the academic sort of like structure of things.
Yeah.
So it's familiar.
Yeah.
So I guess, you know, it's nice to have something familiar.
Yeah.
Wherever you can get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you, like I asked Craig, how is the world today, or what your everyday, your day-to-day world, how is it tied up in manhood, or how do you see manhood?
I think that, well, how I see manhood is, I think that in a lot of ways, the way that I've experienced manhood, the way that manhood has been, I guess, imposed on me, I felt that was wrong. If not wrong, period, it was wrong for me.
Mm.
And I think that there was a release, and there was a you know, there was something really nice to just sort of like realize that for myself, and realize that you know, the idea of manhood doesn't have to be a strict set of things. You know, you don't need X, Y, and Z to be a man. You know, you don't need this, that, and the next thing to be a man. And I think that there's a lot of harm that can be done to yourself and to others when you try and force that for yourself. And so I think that, I think that that's sort of where I stand with manhood.
It's interesting. I have had such a shaky relationship with the expression manhood, and then I started thinking about, you know, that feeling that I get when I pay a bill. I don't know if that it's very simple. You know, it's very simple things. Like, I pay a bill and I'm like, "Oh, I'm a man. Yeah." You know,
right.
it is, I wish it were that simple all the time. And you know, 2020 has been the most thoughtful time of my life, and I'm really grateful for the moments that I've had to think about all the things that I've thought about during 2020. But in preparing for the show today and thinking about what my manhood means to me, I think the thing that is the most important to me is not being afraid to be vulnerable in front of strangers, and not being afraid to say yes, or to say I don't know, or to be transparent about my feelings about any issue. Um, uh, it is less exhilarating than paying a bill, but feels as stressful as whatever that my experience of manhood was when I was your age, you know, for instance. And so I'm trying to think about who could think back that far, actually, to how I felt when I was your age, when people talked about manhood. So how are you taking care of yourself right now? Like, what brings you joy?
Watching TV, watching movies, and
What
reading.
I need to know the last thing you watched on TV that brought you joy, the last movie that brought you joy, and the last thing you read that brought me joy. And we'll end this interview on those three things, and we'll show everybody this one last video for you.
Okay.
Tell me.
So last thing has been Lovecraft Country. I am obsessed with that show.
Okay. All right.
So that was the last thing that has brought me joy TV wise. Movie wise, I don't remember what the last movie. You know what? No, it was Alien. It was Alien, the very first Alien movie.
Okay.
I've become like a super huge like horror movie fan throughout this entire year.
Love horror movies too. And it's October. It's spooky month.
Oh yeah.
I haven't watched anything yet. I think the scariest movie I'm going to watch this month is I'm about to watch It's a Wonderful Life. When we're done with the show, I'm going to watch It's a Wonderful Life, which is very scary to me because I've never seen it. All right. So that was book. What was the last book you read that brought you joy?
The last book that I read that really brought me joy, I don't remember. I don't know. I don't know if it brought me joy in the traditional sense of joy, but I have been reading Our Prison's Obsolete, and that has been a book that has really been interesting to me. And again, I don't know if joy is the right word,
Yeah.
but there was something that kind of clicked in my head when you said joy book. So there's something there. I don't know exactly what that is, but
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Craig just said in our chat that Lovecraft Country was off the chain, and of
Oh,
course,
it's amazing.
I haven't watched it. I've just watched everybody tweet about it. I haven't. I just haven't.
Hopefully, you haven't been spoiled too badly.
No, not at all. I'm excited to watch, but I think I want to watch it all at one time. Because the only appointment television that I watch is Big Brother, which is like we could do a whole show about that, but I'm not gonna go into Big Brother right now because it's almost over this season. So, but you can text me later and I'll tell everybody who's watching, text me and I'll tell you what I think about Big Brother. It's fine.
I gotta start it now.
It's All Stars this season, and it's almost over. It's almost over. Anyway, whatever. Forget it. Listen, you have brought me a lot of joy today. I have communicated with you all day today, and that to me has been one of the most amazing experiences of my life. So I want to thank you for coming on the show, and I want to thank you for being you, and I want to thank you for telling us what brings you joy. And I'm going to send you out of here, and then we're going to watch this last video of Gary, and then I'll come back and we'll end the show with another video. All right, so Morgan, roll it. Thank you, Gary, for coming on. We'll talk to you soon.
Kevin.
Yeah.
I'm out here in these streets, man.
I believe you.
I'm out here grinding, bro.
I get it. The ice cream man, the apricot dude. It's tough. It's a tough block, but I see potential in you. Okay? All right? Now, are you doing the Honeymoon Song?
Yeah, I'm doing
Yeah?
Yeah.
Exactly how it was done in training? You remember how it goes?
Yeah.
Be happy. Be terrific. Have a happy honey bun day. Like that, right? And you got to make sure that they see the buns too. Yeah. They like the song.
Yeah. Beating it up.
The Honeymoon Song. I love that. Everyone, I want to thank you all for watching the show tonight. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank the host who was supposed to be here who could not be here. Because I had an amazing time with our guests. Thank you, Craig Scott. Thank you, Gary Cook Jr. Thank you, Morgan Johnson, our screen manager, and Joey Neal, our other screen manager, who rolled those videos even though I put them in our show Dropbox 5 minutes before the show. I want to thank Nyla Davis, our production assistant, for helping put things together. As always, I want to thank Era Ziv, my co-creator of the show. Have I thanked everybody? Oh, I want to thank our next guest, who is just going to sing for you. So in 2016, I had an audition to do a show at the Guthrie, which is in Minneapolis. And the day that I auditioned for the show, they asked us to sing a protest song or some sort of Black anthem. So I chose the Black national anthem to sing. And I knew that I was going to sing it at this audition. And the day of my audition was the day that Philando Castile was murdered in Minneapolis. And I went into that audition and I started singing this song. And when we got to the section of the song about hope, I couldn't continue. I could not sing. I started crying uncontrollably at an audition, and it was very embarrassing to me, and it was really difficult. They called me back. I came back the next day and ended up getting the job. I went to Minneapolis to do the show, and I worked alongside a very good friend of mine, a person who had been a friend who then became a very close friend during the course of that show. And her name is Zanya Love. And Zanya Love is one of the most incredible singers I have ever known. And she's also one of the most beautifully angry people I've ever known. and also another purveyor of Black joy at the same time. She has a lot of joy, and it is tempered with a lot of anger, and I just love her for it. Zanya posted on Instagram a video of herself singing the Black National Anthem in a way that I could never sing it because I'm not the kind of singer that Zanya is. And I thought that I would end the show with this video of her singing the song, sort of to say that, in the way that Craig Scott taught us, that the man is just an expression and that it is not men, what we think of as men, who are the men, right? Zanya Love is the man. And I thought having her sing this song to end the show would be a really beautiful and joyful and also painful way to end the show. So, Morgan, please roll the video of Zanya. Thank you, everyone, for watching the show. Thank you.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day began. Let us march on till victory is won.